Welcome back to Warpaint TV, Wednesday, November 25th, 2009. Once again, I'm Shane Williams.
And I'm Pat Clifton.
And we are here at Arrowhead Stadium with news directly from the Kansas City Chiefs practice facility. Patrick, let's get right to it. The Chiefs' big victory over the world champion Pittsburgh Steelers Sunday. Very, very impressed with how the Chiefs fought back. Our own from the Warpaint Illustrated Facebook, Miss Joy Torres, her hands are still sore from beating on the seat so hard, cheering on her Chiefs for a big victory. Can you tell the Warpaint TV viewers what this victory means for not only the Kansas City Chiefs, but for the Kansas City Chiefs fan base?
You know, I would think that for the fan base, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, you know, maybe there's a lot of questioning of what Haley was doing was right. But I think that this win will validate that for the fans, and more so for the players. That's the that's the more important thing. Sure, you want to keep your fan base happy, but keeping the players happy is even better. And this validates everything they've been working for. When you go out and you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, that means that what your coach, all the work you've been putting in, you're putting it in for something. And all the offseason weight loss to beat a team in overtime, the Super Bowl champions, that's a big deal. So it validates that these coaches are coaching the right thing, the players are doing the right thing, and they are progressing. Every week we hear Todd Haley say, yeah, we're progressing. It's a process. Well, now you're starting to see that process with some results, and the progress with the results on the field. So that's a huge validation, both in the locker room to unify maybe some of the different pockets and sects that weren't exactly maybe on board. This is a big unifying win, and I think it probably has the same to do with the fan base.
10 years ago, Chiefs head coach Gunther Cunningham said he would go over to the house of Bam Morris on Thanksgiving to make sure he wasn't overloading on his Thanksgiving feast. Outside of Dwayne Bowe, does Todd Haley have any concerns over any players on the Kansas City Chiefs roster tomorrow in their Thanksgiving feast?
I don't think one feast is going to kill you, but Glenn Dorsey is probably, if anybody you had to be worried about, it'd be Glenn. Glenn could probably put away some pounds. If he does what he did last year, he'll probably, have Thanksgiving catered, have some teammates over. And, he had problems with the weight loss at the beginning of the year. So if there's anybody I'd be worried about, it'd be maybe him eating a little more pecan pie than you want. But one meal probably not going to kill him.
You were at the press conference today, or Monday, for Todd Haley. Do you feel that he's excited or not excited? Do you feel he's happy with the current weight issues that this team has had this year?
Yeah, I think I think you go and you win a game in the fourth quarter against the Oakland Raiders, and you win a game in the overtime against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's the second half of the season, and that's when you're starting it. Now, the team is progressing. It's getting better. It's a young team. The players are better than they were at the beginning of the season. But I think also a good portion of that has to do with the conditioning aspect and all the work they put in the beginning of they're still running sprints. Chris Chambers in the locker room Monday said, if there's anything, he pointed that out as a bonus for this team is their conditioning, and saying maybe those extra sprints are doing well for us on the field. So I think that the conditioning that they did both at the beginning of the season and preseason, all the weight loss stuff is really going to start to pay off now at the latter end of the season when other teams are starting to get worn down and a little tired. It's going to, especially in the later half of games, it's going to help a lot. And I think Todd Haley stuck to his guns the whole way about his weight loss conditioning program at the beginning of the season, and that's a good thing, and it's starting to pay off. And there were some doubters with Brandon Albert having a down year compared to his previous compared to his rookie year last year. Maybe the pounds taken off him are hurting him. And then you got Dwayne Bowe kind of blaming the weight loss pressure for his choice to take diuretics. But amidst all that, Todd Haley never wavered and never said, no, well, maybe it was a bad idea. No, he stuck to his guns, and that's consistency that you should come to expect from Todd Haley. So, but I think he's very happy with it right now.
Let's go to the forums of WarpaintIllustrated.com. Rowdy110 had a big question. You're inside the locker room. You see all the practices going on this week. And Rowdy110's question on the WarpaintIllustrated.com's forums is, when Mike Vrabel comes back from his injury, does Andy Studebaker go back to the bench?
Well, it's if Mike Vrabel comes back from his injury. You never really know when a guy's on the sidelines like that. We don't know how bad it is. Todd Haley's kind of started being a little bit more quiet, started holding the cards a little closer to his vest as far as injuries go here in the last few weeks. So we still don't know if he's going to come back. Kind of like Zach Thomas. When Zach Thomas got hurt at the beginning of the year, in the preseason, he was out here doing all the running around, doing the lunges, looked like he was good to go, and it turns out, we find out maybe he has a concussion later, and he just wasn't good enough to go. He wasn't good enough to play. We don't really know how bad Vrabel's injury is. He doesn't stay outside very often. When he does, he's just on the stationary bike at practice. So if he comes back, if he's healthy enough to come back and play, I've got to think he's going to play. If he's healthy enough to do it, they're going to play him. He still brings the emotional leader aspect on the field. He still, knows the game way better than Andy Studebaker just by given years and experience. And Studebaker had a great game, but don't jump up and say, oh, Studebaker's the next, anybody. Studebaker had 2 interceptions, but they were he was at the right place, right time, which is where he wants to be. But I wouldn't start painting Studebaker as the next Vrabel.
This week on ESPN.com, the rumors of Charlie Weiss being fired at Notre Dame and coming here to Kansas City Chiefs possibly next season and being their offensive coordinator. Is there any validity to these rumors being talked about on ESPN?
You don't know. I mean, this is what happens in the NFL, and in college football when there's a connection with an old guy, be it a GM, an old coach, an old teammate. They're always going to be brought up. And now you've got Scott Pioli with the Charlie Weiss connection. Well, look what happened last year. Romeo Crennel was rumored to be the next defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs once Scott Pioli was brought on. Well, that didn't happen. Now, why didn't it happen? Could it have been the health issues that Romeo was going through? Perhaps. But Charlie Weiss might be having some health issues of his own. He's still got to do probably a knee replacement surgery. He still isn't a fully 100% healthy after getting injured last year. So we'll see. Charlie Weiss, it makes sense. It makes sense. That's really all you can say is that you look at that and you say, well, he was a great offensive coordinator in New England. Pioli and he worked together in New England. Todd Haley hasn't said he needs to be the offensive coordinator. I think he's even said, later down the road, it'd be nice if he wasn't doing the play calling duties. So it makes sense, and there could be validity. But right now, Charlie Weiss still has a job at Notre Dame. So until he's fired, you can't really look at it as a sure thing. But we'll see. I mean, I think it's a good possibility.
You heard it here first from WarpaintIllustrated.com's very own Patrick Clifton. And for Shane Williams, Justin Olson, and the entire staff at WarpaintIllustrated.com, happy holidays.